And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Okay, flying weather for tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. We've got IFR still hanging in over the eastern interior here, as well as the eastern North Slope Arctic coast. Also down across all of the Panhandle. VFR here, southern Alaska, up through the central interior, all the way up to the Arctic coast there. Then some marginal VFR here in the western part of the state with a little bit of IFR there, Nunivak Island. Otherwise, marginal VFR for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And then for the afternoon, stays VFR here, Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula up into much of central eastern part of the state. Some marginal VFR still, Kuskokwim Valley up toward and northwest of Denali Park, and then over the southwest part of the state here. Another band of marginal VFR, northern Bering Sea, up into the Bering Strait. Kotzebue Sound, though, Buckland, maybe Shishmaref, VFR, IFR just to the east there in the Kobuk Valley, extending up across the Noatak Valley and to the western Arctic coast. And some IFR starting to show up out here to the west with the next system. Over the southeast coast, starting to improve here up around Elfin Cove, marginal VFR along the outer coastline, but still pretty good IFR over the inside waters to the border. Then for the Sunday morning time frame, IFR here for the southern southeast coast, moisture continuing to stream northward there, keeping it conditions lower down in that area. Good VFR here for the Gulf of Alaska. South central Alaska, Copper River Basin, still lower conditions north side of the Alaska Range there with possible IFR right there. And out here also some possible IFR there, Seward Peninsula, up along the northwest coast of the Bering Strait. But southwest part of the state here, Kuskokwim Valley, Kuskokwim Delta, Bristol Bay, southeast Bering Sea, actually into the central Bering Sea, all looking really good. VFR all the way to Adak, and then big storm coming in from the west there, spreading IFR eastward, and we'll see pretty good front brings a pretty good band of IFR into the central Aleutians in the afternoon, and then some more IFR just to the west of that with the main low center, and then IFR here over the western interior from about the Nulato Hills there up across the Kobuk Valley into the western Brooks Range, mainly along the southern slopes. Marginal VFR into the central interior. Either side of that, good VFR. And marginal VFR there for the southeast coast. Passes, Anatuvik, and Adigan. Good day tomorrow, either approach, both VFR in the forecast there. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR, rainy, same forecast. In fact, the Alaska Range looking pretty good tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon. Windy, VFR. Isabel, VFR. Mentesta, VFR. And Tanita, also VFR. Portage continues VFR flying the entire day. And Chilkoot and White, IFR improving to marginal VFR. And for the freezing levels, 2,000 to 4,000 feet over the southern panhandle here at the surface, south of the North Gulf Coast, Kodiak Island, then coming back north out over the Bering Sea here, just southwest of Nunivak Island, but right up near St. Matthew Island. And icing, some icing starting to spread in tomorrow afternoon into the far western Aleutians there, but remainder of the Bering Sea into the west coast, nothing significant at all. In fact, just slight chance of some icing here in the west central interior, as well as along the central Arctic coast. And then with moisture streaming northward, probably see some considerable moderate rime icing here over the southern panhandle. Jet stream showing that southerly flow there, pulling the moisture in over the southern southeast coast at about 95 knots there. Trough here now shifting eastward, and light winds even back to the west here, and northerlies about 110 knots there into the Aleutians ahead of a ridge there, ahead of a big storm that'll be pushing eastward on Sunday. And then for the 9,000 foot winds, we're looking at northwesterlies, 25 to 35 knots over the western interior, dropping into the Gulf of Alaska, light over the eastern part of the state, light over the Bering Sea, starting to increase here out over the western Aleutians up to 50 knots there. And for the southeast coast, winds diminishing as the strongest wind max shifts up into the Yukon. 3,000 feet, northwesterlies 40 knots, remaining along and off the coast of the Panhandle there, and northwest 40 knots for the Barren Islands into the western Gulf. Maybe a narrow band of 40-knot winds along the North Gulf Coast as well. Westerlies 40 knots for the western Arctic coast, light for the Bering Sea, especially the eastern central Bering Sea, Alaska Peninsula, then really picking up out to the west. Turbulence-wise, with that next storm coming in out there, looking at a pretty good area of moderate turbulence, up to 8,000 feet or below 8,000 feet out there to the west, coming into Shimian at 2 in the afternoon hours, and then some light to isolated moderate turbulence possible there for the western Arctic coast. And then we got a pretty good area of mechanical moderate turbulence here for the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, down into northern Kodiak Island, Kamishak Bay, and the Aleutian Range there, southern Cook Inlet.